Welcome to today's broadcast. No matter what kind of day you are having, please remember that God is big and He is good. He is bigger and better than you think. Now, when I decided to go on my very first fast, it was during the hottest days of summer. I hadn't read any books or heard any sermons on the subject. And the only kind of fast I knew anything about was what Jesus did in the Bible. So I just woke up one morning and decided to go without food or water. Needless to say, by the afternoon of the second day, I was beginning to visit La La Land. Fortunately, I ran into a friend who saved me from dehydration. Jesus talks about fasting and prayer in the story of the boy with seizures. You can read this in Matthew chapter 17, verses 14 through 21, and Mark chapter 9, verses 14 through 29. He talks about how this kind does not go out but by in Matthew, and can come out but by nothing but in Mark, prayer and fasting. The obvious question is, this kind of what? Most commentators answer with this kind of demon or unclean spirit. But I think there's a better interpretation. To pray and fast before casting a demon out of another person is simply not practical. Based on the biblical record, Jesus only fasted once, for 40 days, food and water, in the very beginning of His ministry. And Jesus certainly did not go off to pray before He cast out a demon. Since He is our example, I think we need to dig a little deeper into the question, this kind of what? If Jesus isn't teaching us how to get rid of demons, He is teaching us how to get rid of what? I think Jesus is showing us how to get rid of the mindset that thinks we only need what Jesus has and not who He is. Please remember that Jesus' correction of the disciples and their generation in Matthew chapter 17, Mark chapter 9, and Luke chapter 9 contain the terms faithless, perverse, and unbelief, all of which have to do with the distancing of oneself from God, as opposed to the pursuing of intimacy with Him. Also, please remember that while faith has its substance in our spirit, our divine nature, unbelief has its substance in our flesh, our human nature. And both conditions can be, and usually are, present at the same time. Unbelief is your human nature's direct attack against the true nature of God, trying to convince you that God is not who He says He is. So faith is drawing us into a revelation of who God really is, then unbelief is trying to convince us otherwise. It's as if unbelief whispers in our ear, you don't really need God, you just need His stuff. Unbelief is intent on manipulating God instead of knowing God. I am convinced that Jesus is teaching us how to get rid of our unbelief. For more, please visit givethatmountain.org, and you have a wonderful day.